Okay, here we are. Matthew Russell Lee, Inner City Press, here at the Southern District of New York Courthouse. Today, Thursday, January 8th, 2026. Now, we're gearing up for tomorrow's Luigi Mangione situation there in 40 Foley Square. The filings have been coming in fast and furious in the run-up to it, including one in which last night in which the government said the perp walk, not far from here, from the heliport, the perp walk was not a taint at all, and that the remedy in any event wouldn't be what they're asking for. So we'll be there tomorrow, be there or be square. Today we'll be covering actually, I think, a final pretrial conference in Dixon versus L.A. Reid, the music producer. Should be interesting. There have been a lot of sealings. L.A. Reid at first either didn't have a lawyer or wasn't paying his lawyer, but now he's hired a big 100 Center Street hotshot, the Idala firm, I believe, and they're sealing everything in the case. So we're going to have to go and check it out in person. Speaking of sealing, in the Epstein files case, yes, the guards that were charged initially with negligence in terms of his expiration in the MCC behind me, there's been given time by Judge Torres to say if they consent to the unsealing of the grand jury materials. Also, there's been an extension for sealing and redaction in Ghislaine Maxwell's ongoing attempt to get a new trial. So that's on the sealing front. Now, yesterday, here's an update. We covered the trial of Sudanese Darfuris against BNP Paribas, in which they won a stunning verdict. No one was covering the trial. So we did. We wrote a book about it called Banking on Dictators. And yesterday, Judge Hellerstein, otherwise in the news, as we'll get to in a moment, Judge Hellerstein denied BNP Paribas' motion to reduce or eliminate the judgment, and it's going forward. And that's just a bellwether. There's going to be more. Now, as to Hellerstein, he's much in the news because he's the judge with the Venezuela case. He's had it. He wasn't picked at this time. He's been on it. But in all the coverage I've seen about, he's 93, this and that, here's a case people should look at in terms of Judge Hellerstein. And I've covered many of his cases. He did a Hezbollah case. Truglia was a guy who was convicted in connection with some kind of crypto hacking, and then he said he lost his keys and couldn't pay restitution. Well, he was sentenced to 12 years for failure to come up with the money. It's pretty extreme, and it's on appeal, but it's something to be looked at. Check it out. On the financial front, we've already turned the corner, but we'll do it. On the financial front, we can say, prospectively, Fair Finance Watch has commented at the earliest possible time on Ocean First Flushing Bank. We just walked by a Flushing Bank in Chatham Square, and also on Burke Link Bank, Burke and Herbert and Link Bank. Now, two separate reserve banks wrote back and said they haven't applied yet. If they do apply in the next 3 months, the comments may be considered. What does may mean? Governor Bowman has said she wants to go fast and furious with the approval process, so they definitely should say if you comment early, it will be considered. To say may is very indicative. So we wrote back to both the reserve banks on that. Key Bank, they're paying a fine, $7.7 million, PPP fraud. There's that. And Comerica, fresh off its shareholder vote, says it's going to do layoffs. Big, very surprising, since they're also going to be closing 80 branches, or would if and when they get the Fed approval. So there's that. Now the UN, we finally reached that as we approach the courthouse. Don't want this to be blocked out in sound because it's important. Yesterday, amid much other news that we covered, yesterday it was announced that the U.S. is withdrawing from a number of UN agencies. Now, we did a list because we know many of them. DESA's been run by China for like a number of years, basically. It's the Department of Economic and Social Affairs. It was actually part of the whole South-South bribery scam and the China Energy Fund Committee. So, good riddance. Now, we ran down to ESQUA, that's in Beirut. Anyway, you can find a thread. We put them up, and we put them in an article. And the UN spokesman, Stefan Dujarric, who refuses to answer inner city press questions, as we've written scoops about each of those agencies. And again, I know that there's some UN defenders. I know that probably some work is done by those agencies, but even the UN defenders need to ask themselves, how can the UN physically ban, without due process or appeal, the media that's asking questions raised by its own staff members, people that care more about the UN than Antonio Guterres, who really only cares about himself? Well, we're going to go in. So the day begins. Watch this space. To be continued.